All right, guys, in CNN politics here, McCormick pushes for undated ballots to be counted in Pennsylvania GOP Senate primary after court ruling. So what we're talking about here is McCormick versus Oz. And Dr. Oz is up by a very, very slim margin, probably in like automatic recount territory. We still don't know exactly how this is going to unfold. But what is fascinating in this, is that the same Republicans who scream from the rooftops that mail-in ballots are illegitimate, they shouldn't be allowed, we should axe them completely, everybody should have to vote on election day. Now all of a sudden this guy's like, not only am I for mail-in ballots, even if they're undated, even if there's aspects of the ballots that might legitimately make them unusable and make them uncountable according to the law, he's like, no, let it all in, because he thinks this is going to give him an advantage. The hypocrisy knows no bounds. It knows no bounds. Pennsylvania Senate candidate Dave McCormick is pushing for undated mail-in ballots to be counted in his neck-and-neck Republican primary against Mehmet Oz, following a court ruling on a different election. The Third U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in Philadelphia ruled Friday that undated ballots should be counted in a November 2021 election for a county judgeship. The three-judge panel has not yet issued a formal opinion, and the Secretary of State has not yet issued guidance about whether this ruling should apply to other elections, including Tuesday's primary race. It's also unclear how many ballots were submitted without a date in the Senate, GOP contest in Pennsylvania, but McCormick, a former hedge fund manager who has outperformed the Donald Trump-endorsed Oz when it comes to the mail-in ballots, is seeking to use the ruling to his potential advantage. A law firm representing McCormick's campaign wrote to all 67 counties in the Commonwealth and advised them to count any undated ballots in light of the ruling from the Third U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, and said it would request a formal hearing on the matter if that doesn't happen. So this, if they actually count this, it might actually swing the election back to McCormick. We trust that in light of the Third Circuit's judgment, you will advise your respective boards to count as any and all absentee or mail-in ballots that were timely received but were set aside / not counted simply because those ballots lacked a voter-provided date on the outside of the envelope. McCormick's lawyer said in an email which was obtained by CNN, quote, "To the extent you are not willing to provide this advice, we ask for a formal hearing before your boards on the issue." Oz currently holds a narrow lead over McCormick. A recount would be automatically triggered if the race is within half a percentage point. It looks like that's going to happen, by the way. A McCormick campaign aide told CNN, "We're glad votes continue to be counted." Oz's campaign plans to oppose McCormick's request, according to Oz's campaign manager, Casey Contrez, who accused McCormick's legal team of using a Democratic playbook, warning it could have long-term harmful consequences for our elections in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So they're both sort of going full stop this deal. I'll tell you who I agree with at the end. Dr. Mehmet Oz continues to respectfully allow Pennsylvania's vote-counting process to take place and put his faith in the Republican voters who we believe have chosen him as their nominee, Contra said in a statement. That is why our campaign will oppose the McCormick legal team's request that election boards ignore both Pennsylvania Supreme Court and state election law and accept legally rejected ballots. A spokesman for Pennsylvania's Department of State said officials there do not have an estimate of the number of impacted ballots and will be surveying counties to get that figure and issuing guidance to support them. But the spokesman also praised the appeals court ruling, saying, "We are pleased the Third Circuit agreed with the Commonwealth's interpretation of the statute, which will help ensure that voters who inadvertently fail to date their ballots are not disenfranchised by that error." Okay, so look, on the actual substance of this, I do think McCormick is right. I do think that you should count those ballots. Instances of voter fraud are absolutely minimal, infinitesimally. Why would I even say that word? I don't even know where I was going with that sentence, but I used the word infinitesimally. I was going to say, like, they're really tiny. Let's just go with that. Let's use some plain language as opposed to, like, freakish, unnecessary words. Anyway, I think you would be disenfranchising people if you throw that out. Even if the law says, hey, if it's not dated, don't count it, it's very likely that there were people who didn't know you were supposed to date it. And so you're going to disenfranchise their votes on a technicality? No, I don't agree with that at all. Any vote that is an actual vote should be counted, and I think those are actual votes. So I agree with McCormick, but don't get it twisted. They are being hypocrites because the Republican official stance very recently was all mail-in votes are ridiculous. We shouldn't even allow mail-in voting. And definitely if it's a mail-in vote that doesn't meet like the legal criteria, well, without a doubt, throw those out. Because mail-in votes in the 2020 race sided with the Democrats. And so since they sided with the Democrats, the Republicans were like, but mail-in's bad and wrong and don't do it and don't count them and all that stuff. So massive hypocrites, but on the substance of it, I think those ballots should be counted. Now, in terms of the outcome of this election, honestly, I'm of two minds. On the one hand, I think Dr. Oz is a more formidable candidate against John Fetterman. I think he's being underestimated right now. I think he's phenomenally charismatic. There's a reason why he's had a TV show for a really long time. Even though his politics suck, he comes across to people as very likable. So I think Dr. Oz is a more formidable candidate against Fetterman. So on the one hand, I don't want Oz to win, but on the other hand, that would make for a heavyweight slugfest that I'd really be interested in seeing. I would love to see Fetterman and Oz go at it. It would be fun to watch that. It would be fun to cover that. Now, McCormick is endorsed by, like, Ted Cruz and a bunch of other ghouls, right? He's terrible, just like Oz is. Maybe even worse than Oz. I'm not sure. They're probably relatively equally bad. I think Fetterman has a better chance against McCormick. So, on the one hand, I want McCormick to win this because Fetterman has a better chance of beating McCormick, but on the other hand, then you don't get to see the heavyweight slugfest and the really interesting race of Oz versus Fetterman. So either way, I'm watching this, closely because this is really interesting to me. I think there's going to be a recount, and who's going to actually end up winning this? Shit, man. Right now, it's a leaning Oz, but flip a coin. Or, maybe it's 60% Oz, 40% McCormick, but this is tight. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.